I think we all get caught up in thinking that giving money back is the most important thing, and it's not, right? It's not like, and for us, like our Be Generous project is we give back our time, treasures, and talents.
Yeah. Welcome to the Founder's Mentality. My name is Josh Fedie. I'll be your host today. Sitting next to me is somebody that, for sure, if you're in Minnesota, needs no introduction, except for if you're only listening to this on the podcast and you can't currently see his face. But I have someone next to me that I'm honestly super excited to have on. I've wanted to have him on for a really long time. We originally had a conversation probably a year ago, and I mentioned it, and then we just never got back around to it. But he was recently on a really good friend of mine's podcast, Mick Labrador at Coffee and Closers. And I cornered you immediately after and said, all right, now's the time.
Yeah.
So everybody, please help me welcome Mr. Kris Lindahl to the Founder's Mentality.
Thanks for having me.
No, this is seriously, this is an honor. Now, my children never watch my podcast, but I'll let the listeners know the first time I met you, you were walking through the hall of WeWork. You probably don't remember this. I ran up to you and I said, Kris, you have made me famous in my children's minds because when we're driving down the highway, for whatever reason, they always say, Dad, why are you on a billboard? And I don't see the similarity, but apparently we look related. And so it's always just tripped my kids out. So I'm going to show them this video and it's going to blow their mind.
I love it.
This will be
What
the
are their
point
names?
they stop listening. Jolie and Tristan.
Jolie and Tristan.
Yeah.
Hey, Jolie and Tristan.
It's Kris Lindahl. There you go. No, so you've made me famous, at least in my kids' minds, right? But so that's awesome. Now, like I said, this has been something I've wanted to do for a really long time because I see a lot of similarities between you and I in how we approach marketing and how we approach building our businesses, the enthusiasm that we put behind it. You have energy for days, man. Like, I can't even keep up with you. People are always telling me, they're like, every time I walk in a room with you, I feel like you just like went crazy. Like, what are you on? And I'm like, no. Wait till you meet Kris Lindahl. This guy's got energy for days. So me and you together, this literally is like Chris Farley and Billy Mays coming together.
I love it.
All at one time.
Yeah.
Let's just bring the listeners what they want. So real quick, for anyone listening that isn't in Minnesota, doesn't know who you are for whatever reason, let's do the quick elevator pitch. What is your business? Who are you?
Yeah, so today we have Kris Lindahl Real Estate, which is our core side, innovative side of really disrupting the traditional industry. Yep. We also have a separate company that handles all of Zillow offers. So we're the broker partner for Minnesota and Western Wisconsin for Zillow offers. So so we have two different structures, two different types of things. They're both very heavy operational because we're so focused on the consumer and making that experience great for them. We also have a lot of things that we're in the process of launching. Like we're live right now on a couple of my personal pages. We're launching masterminds for entrepreneurs where we're going to teach others, what we've built. And when you really think about it collectively, I mean, just in the Minnesota market alone, you have approximately 30,000 plus real estate agents. Yeah. And so, teaching entrepreneurs, like, how do you stand out? Arguably, us being the most recognizable name in the area out of 30,000 people, most industries and most businesses that I've seen don't have 30,000 companies to compete with.
No, absolutely not. And this ties in so beautifully. Show the camera the shirt you're wearing. I mean, if nobody has seen this shirt, that's the Be Generous shirt right there. I'm waiting on mine, and I'm going to rock it as soon as I get it.
They're on back order.
But it's very much part of your mission and you as a person. You were on Coffee and Closers, and you said that anyone wearing a Be Generous shirt, they become generous. You had mentioned a story about someone that just like wrote you a message and said, ever since I got this shirt, people approach me on the street. Everybody's excited to meet with me. But I think that is also probably the most clever employee retention tactic I've ever seen in my life. Because now you have employees walking around with Be Generous shirts and feeling good about who they are and feeling good about what they do and the organization they work for. There's something to be stolen there for other businesses.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think one of the things that even before someone in our company receives or puts on a Be Generous t-shirt,
Yeah.
we've already hired and attracted someone to that message. And the company takes a life of its own, right? So when someone enters our world, they already believe in that.
Yeah.
They're already attracted to that style
Yep.
of business, that style of life,
Yep.
that mindset.
Yep.
And so when they put the shirt on, that was the human being that they already were.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and this is, and I mentioned this before, but like when you think about locker rooms and sports and all of that,
Yeah.
this is why we are winning.
Yeah.
Is because of our people and the community that we have.
Yeah.
It's not the crazy marketing. It's not any of that stuff, and people will think like, how can that not be it? And it's not.
Right.
Right. It's really not. It's our people, and we have the
Yeah.
most amazing people.
Yeah.
And then you take that a step further and you watch the influence that our people have on their families, on generosity. Like yesterday we had Amber Hattie, one of our agents, that set up this thing that we do all the time with Ronald McDonald House, where we prepare food and we come in and we help the families in a time of need.
Yeah.
Amber did that on her own,
Yeah.
right? Amber set that up, orchestrated that, and so
Yeah.
what you have is you have a community of people that are like-minded. But when you have a community of like-minded people, you have a safe environment,
Yeah.
right? In which then that environment encourages leadership.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it all takes a life of its own. And, people, there's times where I get so much of the credit,
Yeah.
and it's not true. It's not me. It's really everyone else.
I mean, here's what I would say to that, though, because I say this all the time. When people ask me a lot about social media, just because I'm constantly on channels doing these things. And so they ask me all the time, how can we get our employees to do this more? How do we get our employees to start preaching our message and sharing things? And I say, well, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, are you doing it yourself?
Yeah.
No. Why would I do that? Because it starts at leadership. Because you're the one that gives everyone else permission that this is okay. Not that this is an expectation. Not that you can't work here if you won't do these things. I'm giving you permission if you're comfortable to do these things. And that way, if we do something that inspires you in some way, you are now going to share that.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful thing. And it's probably the hardest thing for organizations to figure out, and you've totally nailed that. So
Yeah,
you've multiplied yourself.
That is very difficult, and I think often businesses look at leadership in the wrong way. Where I totally look at it as bottom up.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm on the same level as everyone else,
Yep.
and arguably a lot of our people might be on a level higher up than I am.
Yeah.
And when you hire people that are smarter than you, that do a better job at things that you're weak at,
Yep.
that's where you can have like ultimate growth. That's
Yeah.
where the velocity comes from.
Yep.
Is when you have people that are in a position where they are better than you.
Yeah.
And to your point, if you're not willing to do those things,
Yeah.
like you're talking about these other CEOs and if they're in business executives, if they're not willing to do those things,
Yeah.
then they have to be willing to submit to their weaknesses.
Yep.
And say, hey, I'm not willing to do this because I'm not great at this,
Yep.
or I don't want to be vulnerable. And that means that you have to bring someone else in.
Yep.
But like you had mentioned, if you want to get ultimate traction in anything you do in the world, you have to lead by example.
Absolutely.
You can't expect others to do it if you're not going to do it.
Nope, absolutely not. But this comes to the next thing that I really wanted to talk with you about because, and you spoke about this on Coffee and Closers as well, but this was really a poignant moment for me because this is where I really realized the similarities that we have in our strategy for building a business. Putting your face on everything. I know you get a lot of flack for that, and we don't need to talk about the flack you get for that. Anyone listening that's probably seen the Reddit and seen the Yelp, whatever, right? I do the same thing. The reason I do it is because I studied the other SaaS businesses in my space. And I started realizing that the startups that were gaining traction, their CEOs were very visible. And not just visible, the illusion of accessibility was created because of how visible they were. And what that was doing was creating just fanatical supporters for that organization and really helping them jump off. Now, it was also creating fanatics that wanted to just bash them.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it right if you don't have both sides, so whatever. But that's why I gave myself the permission to start being the face of the business, to start turning myself into a caricature of sales reach and just really put it out there. I know you get a lot of flack for this, and you're on every billboard in town, but it's working so far, right? Where I wanted to go with this, though, is all the things that I think that's inspired locally. I just saw another guy just the other day on LinkedIn that made a billboard of himself emulating you. I think he's a home builder.
Yeah.
He said he got your permission to do it.
Yeah. So he runs a construction business. Actually, I went to high school with him.
There you go.
Been a friend of mine for a long time, Joe Hoffman. Yeah.
That's great. And recently people were going down, was it Nicollet Avenue, doing a costume contest, being Kris Lindahl?
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. Look at this evangelism that's coming out of that, right? You have to make a statement. You have to take a chance if you want to create that kind of environment where people feel like they can jump on that bandwagon, right? I mean, how thought out was this, though, when you started doing this?
Not that well thought out. Like, it wasn't like this magical moment where I spent a significant amount of time saying like, hey, if I do this, I know this is going to happen. But I did have some feedback before I started, as I was growing my individual real estate business back then. I realized that people connected to people, right? And they were always mentioning their realtor name, but not their brokerage name. And what then, then my sort of dream at that time was like, what if I create a name, like a personal human name, brand, that people can connect not only to their agent, but also to the company, which is actually our competitive advantage now, because we've been doing this for years and years and years, and we have had no pushback from any other real estate company in Minnesota or Wisconsin. We are so far ahead when it comes to branding. We are so far ahead when it comes to our strategies and the way that we've developed our process to service the consumer.
Yeah, you are so far ahead with branding. And don't be confused, anyone listening. Branding is not Kris putting his face on everything. The branding here is the story that you're telling.
Yes.
That we are here for you, that we are generous people and we want to see the best for you, that we're going to bring you value. We're not just going to be selling you all day. It's a promise that your company's made, and I've been watching it, man. Like, you guys are crushing it on this. You're definitely delivering on the promise.
Thank you.
And that's, again, a very hard thing for organizations. Now, I think it would be ridiculous for me to not mention, nobody can see what's happening in this room right now unless we take one of these live stream cameras and like move them around or something. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different cameras in this room right now.
Yeah.
3 of them are mine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Gary V would be jealous of this setup. This is absolutely insane. We're going to be able to chop this up all day long. I know that's part of your strategy as well with what you produce.
It is. One of the biggest regrets that I have, so if someone's watching or listening that's in a position where they're just starting to build their business, is I didn't do this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't document anything. And I think there were so many lessons that I had along the way and so many really failures, honestly, where I didn't make the right decisions or where we struggled, that I wish I had those videos to share with other entrepreneurs that might be experiencing those same pain points. The one that comes to mind right now is the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I sympathize with so many of these companies right now that are really struggling. And I remember back in the early days where this would have been impactful on us, and so I know the feeling of, I've got a friend of mine that I'm going to go to dinner with tonight that has to make some tough decisions with their company. And so I'm just fortunate that, we're past all of that.
Yeah.
We've invested a really great brand. Yeah. We're super well capitalized and knowing that this day would come, which I think is a testament to all businesses. Like, this is a big stress test for so many industries and so many businesses that, I think so many businesses rely on debt, right? And so now they're in a position where if new business isn't coming in, they're running out of their line of credit, or they're running out of their credit cards, or they're feeling like they're tapped, or they're almost maximized, and they're layoffs, and there's this panic going on. And I'm not trying to pretend that I'm a doctor or I have the outcome of what this coronavirus is. It's clearly become more serious as of recent, and I'm not an expert in that field. I do know that these crisis type things happen in businesses.
Yeah.
They don't have to necessarily be global, economy related. They're not always health related. In most cases, it's not the same thing twice. Right. And so I think there were, I was watching the consumers over the past few years, and they thought that they were going to sell their house and go into a rental and wait for this housing market to like bottom out. And then they were going to buy foreclosures just like they did last time.
Yeah.
And what we see happening right now is whether we're in a recession, whether we're headed for one, debatable. Every expert has a different opinion on that. But what we're seeing here that is so different than last time is it's not going to be housing.
No.
Right? I mean, there's student loans, consumer debt, corporate debt, right? I mean, you look at a lot of these, these huge companies that might run out of money in weeks.
Yeah.
And we have such a global economy now, and you think about, the products and the things that need to be shipped here that companies are dependent on. And I mean, there's so much global connection to all of this.
Yeah.
This is a moment for everyone to take a very close look at not only their business, but also their personal life.
Absolutely.
Like on how they're managing finances, how they're managing debt. This is a big wake-up call for a lot of people. I can't tell you how many people and friends I've talked to in business where this is going to make a major impact.
Yeah.
One thing that we set up years ago is we set up the ability that we knew in a crisis situation that everyone could work from home.
Yeah.
So last night, we implemented everyone's working from home for the rest of March.
Yep.
And it's not some panic or anything like that. It's just that we have the ability to do that.
So do it.
So for our employees, our agents, and their families, it makes sense to do.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of companies aren't prepared. They don't have a plan.
No.
They don't have a plan for any of this. And I think one of the other things is when you think about sales and you think about everything that is happening, and so many companies are dependent on the next transaction, the next revenue stream, that they make decisions based on that. And that's not the right decision to make for your company or your family. In a lot of cases, also your client, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of industries right now where you have clients where they're in major pain. And the only thing that they need right now is they need you to be there for them.
Yep.
They don't need you to try to sell them something else. Nope. They don't need you to ask, when's the invoice getting paid?
Nope.
All they need is they need value, and they need to be able to present them with information that can help them make better decisions.
Yeah.
And someone to lean on.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any major changes in housing. I mean, rates are super competitive, based to sort of the historic rates, and we have low inventory in our area.
Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity for so many.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're making decisions based on the information that we have today, and we're going to continue to rely on the CDC and the people that understand what it is, and we're going to follow their guidance. And I don't want to be the company that puts someone in a position of risk because I was thinking about profit or revenue first.
Yep.
And that's a very big challenge for a lot of companies when you think about leadership.
Yep.
Ultimate leadership is about what's best for your clients, your community, your agents, your employees, and their families. That's what's first.
Yep.
Money, revenue, profit, that's secondary.
Yep.
And this is a wake-up call, I think, for our entire society too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even simple little things about washing your hands.
Yeah.
Look at how many people are washing their hands. Look at the notices look at the notices. I mean, I just, we're in WeWork right now. I just looked at all the notices. I took a picture of them.
Yeah.
There's the notices that are on the
50.
wall.
Yeah.
There's Clorox wipes in every room.
Yeah.
There's hand sanitizer. There's soap. Things that we've always known we should be careful of spreading germs in general.
Yeah.
I think it's a great wake-up call for society, but then there's the other side of it, which is the technology side of exactly what your product and video-based and things like that, where it's going to give us the ability to sort of test out doing business a bit different.
Yep.
Right? A lot of traditional businesses are not used to having people work from home.
Yeah.
They're not used to delivering videos. They're not used to delivering video conferencing.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that a lot of people aren't talking about right now, but the way that business is done could change drastically from this event.
Yeah. No, I believe that as well. I mean, by the time we release this podcast, it'll be too late. But tomorrow, my team and I were putting together a conference called Grounded. It's just a digital conference. Mm-hmm. Because we wanted to talk about some of the solutions, not the problem. Everybody's talking about the problem. We need to talk about the solutions here. And us specifically, our customers are salespeople. And salespeople are, honestly, they're freaking out a little bit right now, especially enterprise salespeople that are working big deals, that are very used to getting on a plane and meeting face-to-face. We're not approaching this because it's an amazing opportunity for us to prove the value of our company.
Of course.
But we're approaching this saying, look, we do have a solution that was built for not being face-to-face. We're not saying this is to replace ever being face-to-face. But while you can't be, there's so many technologies.
Yeah.
We still have quotas. Businesses still need to go on. So we need to pivot really, really quickly. And I think that what's been interesting, at least for me, is you're right. Businesses need to prepare for disasters. We can say that till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Many still won't. This one, I think even just 2 weeks ago, most people were looking at it going, oh, this will be a non-issue. So it sounds like a bad cold. Okay, no problem. Within about 2 weeks, it became pretty clear we got a plan. And it almost within 2 weeks was too late for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, we really need to be reacting to this and be planning for a world with something like this.
Yeah, I want to share something with you. You mentioned planning.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that this day was going to happen.
No.
Obviously, we didn't know what it was going to be, and I don't think anyone did. Nope. We knew at some point the markets go up and down. We were fairly confident in our company that it wouldn't be housing this time around because most people are in low interest rates, right? Like 3%, like jobs are strong. The indicators are different, right? We knew those things, but what we knew is we knew the traditional real estate process had to go away, right? We knew that there had to be a better way to do that. And so that's proving right now, because we made these decisions years ago to build a better home selling strategy, to build a better strategy to find properties before they hit the MLS and do these things, how to view, we FaceTime, we do video, we do all these things that we provide all this information to home buyers so that they don't have to go to a showing. We provide our and this isn't a sales pitch for me, but we provide our guaranteed offer program. You can sell your house without showings or do any of those things. Right. And you can capitalize on the market today and what the comparables are showing. Like that is a different way to sell. So now you have all of these other real estate companies that don't have any programs like this at all, that are trying to pivot into, a time in our world where things are kind of uncertain. And they don't have a selling solution or a home buying experience option for this type of moment. And we're fortunate that we do. And this is why, as a visionary, you always have to be thinking about what's next. And you always have to think that what you're doing now will go away. Like it's almost like this insecurity, like where every day you wake up, you're like, someone's going to take this away or someone's going to provide a better experience for the consumer. How do I continue to grow that? And that's that's the foundation of our entire company. And I wanted to share that because this is that moment for so many where they're feeling pain that could have been avoided if they would have been innovating a year, 12 months, 24 months ago, and they could provide a solution that is recession proof, that is crisis proof. Like business in any industry never goes to zero, right? It might look a lot different. What your consumer needs might change. But if you're constantly trying to bring a better solution to your consumer, you'll win.
No, this is one of the things that you said recently that I just really grabbed onto because we literally say this at our company as well. The exact same words. The Amazon customer is your customer. The Uber customer is your customer. The experiences that consumers are getting in other aspects of their life, whether it's in a digital space or just in a retail environment, whatever, those are the same people that are buying from you. And so I am always hyper aware, as I now know you are as well, to pay attention to those experiences because if you think about it enough, you can find a way to pull that into your business as well. Even if the businesses are completely different. I'm a SaaS business, Uber drives cars. They're still a SaaS business as well, but of course, transportation as well, right? But I can still pull a lot from those experiences. And I think it's great that you look outside your industry, like you were saying last time I heard you speak, to find that inspiration.
For sure. Yeah, you have to go elsewhere because if you stay stuck in your industry, you'll continue to do the same things that are antiquated until you're completely out of business. Right? And I've watched it happen, and it's actually happening in our industry right now. I can't tell you how many real estate agents are struggling so bad right now because there was no innovation. And in a lot of cases, the brokerage that they're at, all they do is just provide some software, some SaaS company, hey, do this, do that, and no one adopts them until they're completely out of business. And the consumer has become far more educated because companies like you just mentioned, the Ubers, the Amazons, Bite Squads, DoorDash, all these companies, they're providing a different service, but they're also educating the consumer, right? You think about Amazon and frequently asked questions and reviews and all of these things that are happening. They are giving way more to the consumer, and it's the same thing the consumer wants in every other vertical. Right? And that's the mistake that so many are making. They think, well, our industry has always been done this way, and they said there's going to be disruption, and they don't believe it, right? And I think sometimes the longer you've been in an industry, the more risk you have, right?
Absolutely.
Because you become so tunnel vision, like, oh, the ups and downs, it's going to slow down for a few minutes, it's going to change, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And then all of a sudden, and then the further down the road you get, then you become complacent, right? Then you become complacent and you're like, well, I've done all right. Like, I'm just going to kind of ride out the storm and see what happens. And you lose that innovation. And when you stop innovating, you're dead. Like, you really are.
My father used to say that all the time. If you're not growing, you're dying. He said that to me since I was 8 years old. When I got my first job, he said that to me.
Yep, so true.
And it is so true. And I think about that every day. Because you can't just get to a point where you become comfortable and complacent and just hope that great things are going to happen to you. I talk to my team about this all the time. We're a small company. Nothing great is going to happen to us. It's going to happen because we make it happen.
For sure.
And that's the only way. Because businesses fail every single day. 90% of the companies that started when I started are going to be gone in 5 years.
Right.
Completely gone.
Yep.
And some of them are already gone. We're 2.5 years in. Some of them are already gone.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying thing to think about. When you think about it, I don't know why anyone ever actually does start a business, because it is. It's an absolutely terrifying thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to bring this back a little bit, because this is the founder's mentality. And we know who you are today.
Yeah.
We know what you're doing today.
Yeah.
But who was Kris Lindahl before he was Kris Lindahl, right? Like, who did you used to be? I always say the reason I started a business was because I made a really bad employee. And what I mean by that is I worked my tail off for the people I worked for, but I always thought there was a better way to do it. And at a certain point, if you continually think there's a better way to do it, you better just put your money where your mouth is and go do it, or shut up and just keep doing it the way your boss tells you to do it. I think we're similar in this. So what was the jumping off point for you? Who were you before you did this?
Yeah. So there are a couple different things. There's obviously the personal side of that. Then there's the business and where the business was.
And I want to know
today.
both of them.
Yeah. So the personal side is, and anyone that's known me for a long time is like, I truly make it a point to not change. I haven't changed. Like, I am the exact same person today that I was when I first started. And I sincerely mean that. And I'm not blowing smoke, and anyone that knows me has known me for a long time. What I would say, what's happened on the personal side is people have created an image of me that don't know me, right? So you put yourself out there, they see you, they hear you, everyone has an opinion of you, right? They don't know you, they've never met you, but they make statements, they post things online like you had mentioned earlier. There's all these comments, all this chatter, this telephone game where it started as one thing and by the time it got to 40 others, it's something completely different. And so when you build a personal brand around your business the way that I have, you have to know that people are going to twist your personality. Like, there's going to be doubters and naysayers, and there's going to be people out there that want you to fail. Like, that's just the society we live in. And you have to realize that if you're going to build a personal brand, you're going to take some of that heat. And what's so interesting, you mentioned founder and visionary and all these things that I always find so interesting is you have this path where you're really starting to kind of carve out your niche and in your industry, and you're really starting to take off. And I'm talking more so about business leaders, and what happens is people don't like that. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like that. There's a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy. A lot of times it's specific to the industry you're in. But it's weird because what happens is as soon as you make it, you become the hero. So you have this ramp of years of like just so much adversity, right? I mean, everyone is like, this is gonna sink, it's over, it's all done. Here's a prime example. Here's the best example I can give you. For years, other people in the industry have said, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen to Kris Lindahl Real Estate in the downturn or a crisis or a recession, which look what's happening right now. We're thriving. And more potential clients are coming to us because they know that we can handle the storm and we have a solution that others don't. But if you would have listened to the naysayers and doubters over the past couple of years, they would think that we'd be sinking right now. And instead, we're flourishing. And so those are the types of things where I would say, like, when you watch your personal brand grow, you have to be okay with what they say, because then you have to realize they're the problem, not me.
Right. Yeah.
And it takes time, because when you first do it, I mean, no one likes to be put down. No one likes to hear all these stories and things that people say. And
it's hard.
It's super hard, right? And so the personal side, like, I haven't changed, but people have changed my appearance and who I am. But also when you are building your personal brand or you're part of a company and you're out there, you're closer to it, right? So you feel like the number of people that have an opinion of you is larger than it really is. It's actually, for me, I know it's very small. And what people are starting to see is like exactly why I came here today and exactly why I'm live streaming it. Like I want to give back to people and share with other business leaders and others that maybe are in a moment of crisis right now, or maybe they're looking to scale their company, or maybe, there's all these different things that early on in my career, like I didn't have the confidence to hit go live and just whatever happens because I was taking so many shots and so much heat. Because when you're disrupting and innovating in an industry, people that have been doing it for a long time or companies that have been around for a while, they don't love what you're saying or what you're doing. No. Right? They want it to stay status quo and they want it to be the same thing over and over again. And now that we're creating this, they're getting exposed. And they don't love it. And the other thing that with building a personal brand is there are so many people in our society that are very closed-minded to new and different opportunities, right? So most society would rather complain and talk negative about others than take accountability and take action, look in the mirror and do something different. They'd rather sink and talk negative about everyone instead of being open-minded and saying, hey, you know what? Like that company over there, they're actually like, I'm watching what they're doing. That looks pretty awesome, right? And you're looking at that and you're going like, wow, that's different than what my broker just told me, or that's different than what my team leader just told me. Like I'm watching what they're doing, or I just had a transaction with one of their agents, or I'm friends with one of their employees, and what they're saying is happening is not what I'm hearing inside of the industry, and so it.
What's big about this though for me, and what I hope everyone realizes that's listening, is you're completely right. It is so much easier to complain. That's why Yelp is just the worst system in the world, because these poor restaurants are just struggling, right? Because everyone loves to complain about a meal. Nobody likes to talk about how great the meal was. I mean, very few people do. So when you can get people to start saying positive things, that's epically. I mean, and what I can say is, so we talked about it already. You had the costume contest that you didn't even think of. You got people emulating you on billboards. You didn't think of any of that. Additionally, though, anybody that is listening to this, I'll be honest, I didn't know what my opinion was of you when I first met you the first couple times. I didn't know.
No.
And I didn't really form an opinion until honestly, just recently. I don't know why you're in my life in the last just like 2 weeks, but one of my good friends invited me up to his cabin. And it was like just a retreat for the soul. And we were talking there, and he had invited another good friend of mine that I didn't know is a good friend of yours, Jason Koontz. And I said, our friend Mick is going to have Kris on his podcast. What do you think of that? And he goes, dude, let me tell you something. Kris Lindahl is one of the best people you will ever know.
Yeah, awesome.
And I said,
thank you, Jason.
And I said, really? I said, really? He goes, really? And for me, that was eye-opening, because I like to take my information from people that I admire and that I respect. And Jason is one of the greatest people I know, honestly. I mean, he is
incredible human being.
He will help anybody. And Best Christmas Ever is one of the greatest organizations we have in Minnesota from a nonprofit perspective. If no one listening knows what Best Christmas Ever is, just go to Best Christmas Ever. I mean, it's an amazing organization. For him to say that, I was sold immediately, right? So I think anyone listening, just if you're hearing negativity about people like Kris or people like me who are putting themselves out there, that are trying to build something and that are trying to be the driving force to at least get the ball rolling. That's all we're doing. We're trying to get the ball rolling, and then we're trying to support people around us to do the same thing and to build something great and to help everybody around us succeed. Whether they're in our business or outside of our company, we both have the mission to watch everybody succeed together, because it's very clear we both believe we don't succeed by ourselves. We don't.
So spot on. One thing that I've learned is you never want to make an assumption without making a determination yourself. Right? And I think as a society, we rely on information that isn't that accurate. And I think as a society, we are also becoming far more educated on what is real and what is fake. You mentioned reviews. Like, I think a lot of us are starting to realize, like, this review system is not right. Right? There are certain people that no matter what you do, you can't make them happy. Right? And then there are also certain platforms, you mentioned Yelp, that they monetize their entire platform on negative reviews.
Yep.
And they showcase only the negatives, not the positives.
Right.
And a lot of the positives don't even get published.
No.
Right. And so I think as we learn about like this entire review thing, which is a whole different scale than it ever used to be, we're so skeptical now.
Yeah.
We're so skeptical, and we want to get the information ourselves.
Yep.
Rather than allow someone else who we've never met behind an alias or behind a screen determine what our experience might be.
Yeah.
We don't know, right? And so it sounds silly when you really think about it that we have, and when we look at the past few years, we have made some decisions in our society based on someone's, opinion who we don't know. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their circumstances were. We don't know anything about them. And we might make a decision whether we're going to that restaurant or whether we're not based on what someone said. And we don't know who that person is. We don't know if they're a former employee. We don't know if they're a competitor of that restaurant. We have no idea. And so I think what we're starting to see is we're really starting to see people take those reviews with a grain of salt. Now, we have great reviews on Google, which monitors as well, and same with Zillow. But Yelp, we have people that are writing Yelp reviews based on our advertising, right? And there's no regulation of any of that. Right? It's just,
How can you criticize someone's advertising campaign? That's not fair.
But I love it because then it tells me it's working. Right? If they take the time to go leave a review on Yelp about those things that we did or said, like that means it's working. That means we're winning. And what I've also realized is the small amount of people that are going to go out and do those things and live their life that way, like that's an awful life to live. And the super positive people aren't going to go out and be that vocal about it, right? They're going to have the conversation that you and Jason had, and you're going to get your information from someone that you trust,
right?
And that's the same thing that so many people that we work with, they talk to people that we've already worked with, and they know what the results are. They know what it's like to go through our innovative process. They know those things, which is the most powerful thing. And this is why word of mouth has worked so well for so long, and referrals and all those things, because now, because of the size of our company, we are 1 degree separation away from almost every single person in Minnesota and Wisconsin, because we've sold so many houses. And then you add in social media, and everyone's connected to a past client of ours, or to someone that we've impacted through our nonprofit, the Be Generous Project. Like everyone knows and sees what we're doing. Like, oh, you're mutual friends with Kris. Hey, tell me about, how do you know him? How do you know them? How do you right? And so it becomes, and then you add our agents and you add their families, and it becomes truly one separation away. And then people start to do their own research because they realize how foolish we have all been, including myself, of reading a review of someone we have no idea, we don't know the credibility, and we've made decisions based on that. And now people are going to do their own research, which is so different.
It's so different. Kris, I knew we were going to go over time. We've gone over time, and you brought food that we should get to.
I thought we just started.
But there's a couple more questions I do want to get to, but we're going to do a couple quick ones here. When did you found this business? What year was it?
So there's a couple answers to that question.
Okay.
So there's when I got into real estate as a real estate agent, which was May 2009.
Okay.
I started the Kris Lindahl Team in January of 2015.
Okay.
And I started Kris Lindahl Real Estate, the brokerage, in May of 18.
18.
Yep.
That's not too long ago.
No.
How big was the team when you started that?
So when I started,
this a Jerry Maguire moment where you had people come with you?
When I started the Kris Lindahl Team, it was just myself and an assistant.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it was just and it was out of necessity. Like when I look back to those days, 2013 I sold 147 homes.
Yeah.
Or 2013 I sold 147. 2014 I sold 175. Jeez. Right in 2 years. And so when you think,
I'm not good at math, but that's almost a home a day. Yeah.
It's incredible, really.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like, when I say those numbers, it doesn't feel like I did that.
Right.
But what makes things so different in our company today is I've actually done it at the highest level, so I can lead that way.
Yeah.
And any other broker or team leader in the market can't say that. They can't do that. Right. And I did it in an era before, when you think back to 2009 and what companies have, you think about the Googles and the all these companies were early, right? There wasn't, the technology wasn't in place to generate opportunities online. Everything was way behind. And so I just had to work super hard to get to that point. And I'm not saying that in a look at me moment. It was, it's kind of embarrassing that I did that many transactions without more help. Sacrifice friendships, relationships. When you're investing that much time. But the flip side of that is our business wouldn't be where it is today if I didn't make those sacrifices and those commitments then.
Nope.
Right. And so that's so many people want to have a business like ours, but don't want to put in the work or have the commitment. Right. I mean, everyone can do the same thing if they want to.
Yep.
Most people just won't take that action.
Yep. I mean, I'm sorry. Did you think this was going to be easy? Right. I mean, this is startup. I say that to people all the time. This is startup. This is not easy. If this was easy, everybody would be doing it. If it was easy, no one would ever say starting a business is a crazy idea. Everybody says it's a crazy idea.
For sure.
Look what you've done in 4 years. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I've done anything yet. I truly believe we're just getting started.
All right. Well, then I can't wait to see when you're doing something. That's absolutely incredible, though. But
Yeah.
what was that next step like for you when you decided I'm slapping my own name on something, I'm starting my own business? Did you bring on investors early on? Did you bootstrap this? What was that first day like?
Yeah. So when I look at that 13 and 14 era that I had with an assistant and doing those types of transactions, I knew that I needed help, and I knew that I needed to provide a better experience for the consumer.
Yeah.
Like that was hands down so crystal clear to me.
Yeah.
One thing that there's been, it's funny when you put yourself out there, everyone has a story. Like everyone has a story of how Kris Lindahl did what he did, right? And how our company got to where it is. We've never taken on any debt. We've never taken on any loans. We've never taken on any investors. I own 100% of the company. Like I 100% just continue to reinvest everything back into the company. To the point now where millions and millions and millions of dollars we've invested back into our company, which is such a significant advantage in the real estate space because any other broker, they keep the commission.
Yeah.
They don't reinvest it. They don't grow it. And so when people say like, well, how did it get to this point? It's because I continued to invest back in, knowing that if I built a brand that the consumers would get a better experience, it would attract more home owners. It would attract more home buyers. I just kept pushing it in, kept going. And this is just the beginning, and we're going to continue to do that, right? We're building technology. We're doing all these things. I mentioned at the beginning, we're starting to now educate other, entrepreneurs, other business leaders. We're recording these videos to give back to them because we're leveraging our springboard and our brand today. And the beautiful thing about building a brand around a person is there are other opportunities and other things that you can do because you can use your springboard and your credibility and your brand to do more greater good and give more back, which is sort of the foundation of what we started with, which is the Be Generous thing. And so when you look back to those early days of doing that, but if you listen to the naysayers and doubters, they'd say, my dad owned a billboard company, which my dad passed away in high school. So that story's no good.
That doesn't work.
Like there's been stories of like, oh, I heard he's going through this nasty divorce. He's hiding all this money. Like, and you hear all these different stories from so many. The thing that's so funny about any story is like, it's amazing to me that so many people would participate in this telephone game when it defies logic. And I'm just going to share it openly. So if you look at someone that would be going through a divorce, the last place that someone would want to invest money would be in marketing that would get them more money or a bigger return. Yet you can look at this small percentage of people in our industry, most likely, that are having these conversations. Oh, I heard he's doing this. I heard he's doing that. I heard, you look at those stories and it's amazing to me that it defies logic. And when anyone's ever approached me with any of these conversations and I ask a few questions like, oh, that is really stupid. Like that doesn't make sense.
That doesn't add up.
But when we get caught up in the hype, right? We get caught up in the hype and it's just like we want to have these conversations and we're addicted to drama, right? We're addicted to these conversations. We'd much rather talk about someone else than talk about ourselves and the lack of action that we're taking, right? We don't want to look in the mirror. We don't want to watch the video of us. We'd rather criticize someone else that's doing one, right? And that's the society that we live in. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting to me how many people are so distracted and they're 100% getting robbed of productivity and they're playing defense, not offense right now because they're so focused on what others are doing when at least in our industry, they're going out of business right now. They are literally going out of business playing defense. They have no idea what this is going to look like for them because they'd rather throw stones and cast blame and say it was this and say it was that. And also too, you know how funny people look when they go and talk to a consumer and they talk poorly about another business? Right. It's the worst thing to do. It makes it way easier for us. So if anyone's watching that's not in our company, keep doing it because it's working for us. Like, keep doing it. But those types of things, right? Those types of things are the type. I feel like this is our responsibility, not to business, but as like humanity, to treat others like kind and like treat others with respect. And like all I want to see everyone succeed. There's enough opportunities in the world for everyone. But people would rather cast stones and blame others and create stories and do these things. And the thing that's always so interesting to me, and I look at business, is I've never worried about what someone else was doing or another business was doing.
Yep.
I couldn't imagine leading my company talking about other companies and other people.
No.
Like it's to me, I'm really curious on like other industries and other leaders where they lead their meetings and they're talking about what someone else is doing.
Right.
I see it all the time. And for us,
Yeah.
because we're everywhere and because almost every single consumer is aware of us and they're interviewing us, and most of them are working with us,
Yep.
other agents, other brokers, and other teams are suffering from this.
Yep.
And so they want to go have conversations about, oh, they're doing this or they're doing that, or I heard they were shady or whatever. You know, the other thing too, when you think about real estate, it's all public information.
Yep.
Right? So
Yep.
if someone was doing something shady, you go look it up.
You'd see it.
You know, but this is the world that we live in. We're so distracted
Yeah.
as human beings
Yeah.
that they'd rather lead their team meeting or their company meeting and talk about what we're doing
Yep.
rather than how they're going to win.
Yep.
And this is why in this moment right now where I talked about earlier about coronavirus and you know, you look at crisis and all those things that come up in every business at some point.
Yep.
We've had several of them over the years.
Yep.
When you look at all those things, when you're playing defense for years, you were not innovating, and that's why they're in pain right now.
Yeah.
Whereas if they would have been playing offense and they would have been focused on creating a better consumer experience and innovating,
Yep.
the day these days would look a lot different for them. But now they're stuck. They have nothing to provide to the consumer in the time that we're in today.
Yep.
And now they go to their meetings and they just want to talk about companies that are innovating, that are doing the right thing because they have nothing left.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. I mean, look, this is what it looks like when you try to do big things, right? You have to work really hard. You have to go. You have to put your name out there. You have to put your face on it. You have to go, and you have to just silence it, because when you're doing big things, it goes right back to what you were saying earlier. The jealousy sets in. It's really hard to get people to cheer you on, but when you do, it's loud, man.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing, and I think that that's what Minnesota is seeing right now. If there's one thing that I believe, it's that by the time you hear something once, it's already being said multiple times over. I believe this in ideation for businesses. I believe this in how people think about other people, right? So what I will say to you is, by me now having two people in the last week tell me that you're a solid guy, Mikolai and Jason, just in the last couple weeks here, I think it's amplifying. I think the right message is getting there, right?
I agree.
And I think that you've done a really good job so far of silencing the negativity and moving forward and not letting that hold you back. And I think it's about to get a lot easier for you, because I think you're going to start hearing a lot less of the negativity, because a lot more of the positivity is being vocalized in the community. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, the thing that the thing that is happening right now is that I look at other people in our industry, and actually even most companies locally. Yeah. I don't know any that give back as much as we do, right? And so, but for so long, everyone wanted it to say it was something different than what it really was. Yeah. But now we have the real estate side where, you know, we're 1 degree separation away.
Yep.
But we're now close to having 1 degree separation away from our Be Generous project and giving back.
Yeah.
Right? Which is far more important to us. Like, yes, we've had success in business, and I believe our obligation is human beings first.
Yeah.
Like business second, human beings first. Like, let's take care of everyone that we're connected to in our world. Like, and let's let business be second. Because, you know, I see this so often too. I'll give you an example. You'll have people that will post things and write things on social media about someone that they're friends with. But if it's a business relationship, they can't help themselves but insert the business relationship. I'm so happy for so-and-so that's a client that's this, or our client did this, or our client did that. I said, if you ultimately want to win, post something where you have nothing to gain. Right? Post something where you have nothing to gain and you're congratulating another human being rather than trying to have an alternative motive of like, hey, like, I'm going to post this so that everyone sees that they're my client, or that's my client, or I have something to gain. And it's so easy, and it sticks out like crazy now. Like, it sticks out like crazy because people see it like, oh, they're only posting this because they want something to gain. Start congratulating people and start really treating people like human beings with nothing to gain. That's where the ultimate win is, right?
Absolutely.
And this is exactly like I had told one of my friends I had mentioned earlier about, you know, the coronavirus and their industry, which is, they're really feeling some pain. reach out to people as human beings and see how to support them.
Yeah.
Don't ask them to get, if you're going to get paid or not, or if things are going to happen or not. Like,
Right.
reach out to them and say, hey, like, I want to lead a helping hand. Or like in my case, the reason I'm going to dinner with my friend tonight is I've been through a lot of these crisis moments.
Yeah.
And if I can provide any additional resource or education to help him, to help his family, to help his employees, to help his independent contractors, to help everyone, I want to do that. And that's fundamentally what I believe in. Is exactly why we have these Facebook Lives going now, exactly why I'm here today, is because I want to help as many people as I can so that we don't see human beings struggling. And that's far greater than business, right? And when you can go and show up to things where there's no monetary return, there's nothing in it for you, that's where you ultimately win in life.
Absolutely.
When you can just keep showing up for people, the business, all the other things will come later. Like, it will come when it's right. Maybe it's now, maybe it's later, maybe it's in 10 years, maybe it's in 20 years. Who knows where that's at, right? We don't know. But if we can be a great human being and we can be leaders to our community and to our people, we'll win. We'll win. But the problem is so many people have these crazy egos and so many people are so greedy that all they want to think about is like, how do I gain from this? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get that? And I've watched it happen so many times. I would challenge everyone that's watching or listening, start going to do things when you don't get anything back. That's where you ultimately win.
100%.
And it stands out and it feels good, right? It feels good to give back. This is why we give back. This is why we do these things. It feels good to make a difference and give back to people.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Start with value always. Bring people value. Look, unless it's not part of your central mission, then don't. Because like you say, you see through it.
Right? You see through it. Right? You can feel it, right? If someone's faking it, like anything that you're thinking privately shows up publicly every single time.
Absolutely.
And if you're sitting on the other table or you're sitting on the other line of the phone or message or whatever it is, and when you're in that position and you're talking to someone that has high EQ, they're going to sniff it out in a second.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to go, what are they trying to sell me, right? What are they trying to do?
Absolutely.
What's happening there? They know. They know.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is the whole reason I even started this podcast. This is another way we're aligned. My business is very new right now. We don't have the finances to give back monetarily or to do the things in the community that you can do right now. But what I can do right now is there's a lot of interest in the community about starting up a business. How did you do it? How did you do it? And we both had this same experience where I was trying to be generous with my time and meet with people to tell them the story. And I realized I was telling the same story to 500 people. And I needed to, amplify the message. So I didn't have to keep having the same meeting every single day. But I also realized that there's a lot of people that I will never meet face to face that will benefit from the stories of other founders starting businesses. Many people are founder curious. Half of them will never do anything, and the other half will try, and about 10% of that half will actually do anything. That's just the reality. But, it's good to give people as much information as they possibly can so they can make an informed decision and move forward.
You said one of the most important things that I don't want overlooked for people that are watching. You mentioned, and I was in the same spot you were, right? Growing the business, not having the resources to maybe give as much capital back. You're investing it in other things right now, which at some point you'll get there, right? But I think we all get caught up in thinking that giving money back is the most important thing, and it's not, right? It's not and for us, like our Be Generous project is we give back our time, treasures, and talents. And arguably, treasures is last. The money is last. Time is way more difficult to commit to. I mean, look at, you had to schedule this out with me. You had to get everything ready, right? You had your calendar, right? You had just your time of showing up is really difficult. And that's ultimate generosity is because we all only have 24 hours in a day. And then what I would say is then the other one that's overlooked is the talents, right? We might not think, our business is only at this level. It's not at this level. Like we can't provide any value to this person or that person. And the reality is like one little nugget for someone might change their world, right? Might change their life.
100%.
And so when you think about generosity and you think about giving back, think about your talents. Like what have you learned? And everyone has enough to give back. Right? Everyone has enough. Everyone's had enough life experiences to give back to others. Right? And so you have that, but then also you have your time, and then you have your treasures, which is your money, which in most cases should be the last one. Now, you put all three together, and that's the ultimate win. Right? Where you can show up and give back this point right here, Josh is a great interviewer because your talent level is at a completely different level because you've done so many of these, because you've been on video, because you've practiced. And these are the things now you can take your talents, leverage with your time, and you can bring back so much value to so many without it actually being dollars. And I would argue that your impact to others is way larger than you could ever contribute in terms of treasures.
Man. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
And that's where I'm going to end it. Not just because I like to end on a high note for myself, which I always do, but also because we've been talking for so long, every single thing I have running on batteries is failing on me right now. So we still have video, but I don't know how much longer. So for anyone listening, I'm sorry I have to cut Kris off. We probably could have gone for another half hour, but we just can't today. So maybe we'll do it again another time. It was an absolute honor to have you on this show.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. One thing I would add is, success leaves a lot of clues, right? And like I had mentioned at Coffee and Closers, I follow everything that you're doing, and I'm a constant learner. You could go to my social media, connectwithkl.com, which is my link tree of all my social media handles. Watch what we're doing. Right? I mean, don't listen to what we said today. Go watch it. Right? You can watch our public Kris Lindahl real estate page. You can watch my Kris Lindahl public figure, my Instagram. You can follow everything that we're doing. That I'm not just saying it, we're living it. And you can watch that through video.
Yeah, you can see those stories. That's the important part.
For sure.
We got to stop talking about doing great things. We got to actually do great things.
100%.
Be seen doing great things is the best thing.
Yes, 100%.
And that's where the inspiration comes from. That's how you inspire the next generation of people that are going to be generous, do good things, help others succeed, and they will ultimately be successful themselves, because when you are that person, the world gives it right back to you. It does every single day.
We're in such an exciting time in our world too.
Really
with technology and the education that's available. I mean, pretty much anyone. I mean, you could get as educated as you want today without spending $1.
Absolutely.
Without spending $1. I mean, the people watching this video, like the things that are readily available today, you can learn from others that have already done it. Success leaves so many clues. And as much as things have changed, a lot of them have stayed the same. Right? A lot of the principles are still the same. The delivery of it might be different. The technology might be different. But we still are all human beings.
I love what you say about success leaves clues. What I'm going to leave the listeners with is something I say a lot that's very similar, but I think slightly different. I like to say make sure to be intentional and leave tracks. Don't just leave clues. People have to sniff out the clues. They got to work a little harder for those clues. Be intentional. Leave some tracks that they can see, that they can follow. There's no reason for us to do this alone. There's no reason for us to only be the ones that get to win. And neither of us have ultimately won yet, regardless. There's still a lot ahead of us here.
For sure.
Kris, this has been awesome. I'm shutting this down because it's about to it's going to blow up on me here. I'm watching the battery life. It's like it's not good. Thank you, everybody, for listening to The Founder's Mentality. Make sure to share this with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Let them know that it's on all the streaming channels. You can check out the full video on thefoundersmentality.com anytime you want, and all the past episodes. But I really thank everybody for joining, and I will see you again in just 2 weeks. Talk to you later.